All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Texas Teams Community Call for August of 2021. Appreciate everybody joining. And as we mentioned before, this is the year of roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And so we had a fun little analogy with the time machine back several months ago. So if you missed that one, then we'll have to you have to go back and see it on one of the like our February Teams meeting is when we announced our new theme for the year. And so, as always, I want to thank the DIR for co-sponsoring and supporting the Texas Teams community. And you might have seen it in the chat just a second ago, but if you didn't, get your tissues out. Joy Hall Bryant is retiring at the end of August. And so this is our last Texas Teams community call where Joy is going to be here in an official capacity with the DIR. So Joy, if you want to say anything, that would be awesome.
I just have had a great time working with all of you, and gosh, I've done dozens, if not hundreds of programs with Microsoft over the years. You guys have just been an incredible resource. So I appreciate all the work all you agencies do. I wish you all the best. Take care.
Yeah, I echo Greg's sentiment. Joy, you are going to be deeply missed. And so I know Mark's going to try to step into your shoes. And I'm not saying you have big shoes, but let's just say you've done an excellent job, and that he's going to have a lot of learning to do to get to your level anytime in the near future. So thanks again for being my friend and being such a great co-sponsor of all these. And you are welcome to join us anytime as a private citizen.
Maybe I'll do that.
I'll add you to the invite list to your private account.
Okay.
So if you're not already on the interest list, there is a Texas Teams community interest list for you to sign up, and that way we make sure and get you invited to all of the meetings. So just point your smartphone camera at the QR code. It'll open it up, or you can go to this URL, and I'll actually I can't copy that to the I can't copy it to the chat because it won't let me copy it, but that'll just open up a form. And you can add yourself. And if for some reason you want to be removed from the interest list, we have had 3 people over the last 2 years want to be removed. So we can take you off the list as well. We have an agenda that I'm very excited about today. First, we're doing the welcome, which we're just about through, and our gratitudes. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new features. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because I really want to reserve the vast majority of our time to talk about something that y'all have been so patient in waiting for, which is Microsoft Whiteboard. And I could not be more excited that it is finally in GCC, finally in the government community cloud for all of our government customers who are using Office 365, right? I see some clapping hands there. I think Chris Bunton, I don't know if he's in the meeting today, but he was the most persistent asking me. He gets the most persistence award. I think he asked me once a month, when's it coming? Is it still coming? When's it coming? And so it's here. And we're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about how it works, what the capabilities are, and I have a little what's coming futures video. And so we'll take a look at some of the things that are coming in Whiteboard that are going to make it even better. Also, wanted to make you aware of another event that we just completed last week on August 3rd, and that was the Hybrid Work Strategic Considerations and Opportunities session. We also did this with Joy. I thought that was going to be the last thing I was going to get to do with Joy, but then we have our community call today, so sort of like an encore presentation. But it was a really, this was more like at a leadership level, really thinking from a strategic standpoint about what's happening in hybrid work. And we had 2 guest presenters. And so we had Yesenia Reyes with Accenture and Heather Whitlock from Adobe, who both spoke, and super sharp people, really experts in their field. They're both leaders for the public sector with Adobe and Accenture. It was a real privilege to get to co-present with them. And then we had a panel at the end. And so it was a really a very full content on what's happening, what we see coming in the future. We talked a bit about the enabling technologies for the future of work. And then Heather with Adobe dug in on some of the transformation that they are seeing through such things as digital signatures and document collaboration. And Adobe has very tight integration into Microsoft 365. Star have a super tight integration into SharePoint, tight integration into Teams. And so it's like DocuSign in their Sign product, but it is completely integrated to Office, Teams, SharePoint, all that kind of stuff. So we like that. If you're interested in the excuse me, the recording, then we have it listed here. It is on our Texas Teams community YouTube channel. So if you just go out to the Texas Teams community YouTube channel, then you can find it there as well. And I'll put the link to that in the chat once I am not doing the talking. Let's talk a little bit about some of the features, and I'm not going to go into nearly as much detail today because, as I said, I do want to save the majority of the time for our whiteboard conversation. There are a lot of features that have already been introduced, and it's hard, honestly, to keep up with everything that's available, and so my teammates and I put together a series of sessions on the different aspects of Teams. And so you can go through and watch these videos, and each one, I think they're ranging between 20 minutes and 40 minutes. And there's a whole channel here, these Teams meetings for government, where you can go and see those different videos, and they're categorized by topic, and they really goes into quite a bit of detail. So if you're wanting to up your Teams game, or you're one of the champions in your organization, then I'd highly suggest looking at those. And so I'll play this quick little intro video. It's a little overview video that one of my teammates made about this video series. It says there are 11 videos, but we added 4 more, so there's now 15. But we didn't want him to have to remake the whole video, so that's why it says 11 videos in the little trailer there. So any questions about that? Before I just keep rambling on. Any questions in the chat? All right, I think we are good. So last month, let's see, no, actually we skipped July. In June, we talked about, and I think we may have talked about this in May as well, the Teams Features Communications Guide for GCC. So much of what Microsoft creates with regard to roadmap and timing and all these videos and trainings are really focused on the commercial cloud. We do have more commercial sector customers, more commercial O365 tenants, but we love GCC around here. And so one of my teammates works with a product group, and it's kind of a collaborative effort. And we create these guides, and they are done by quarter. And so what I mean by that is the first guide we had, you can see it referenced right down here, the GCC 2021 Q2 Teams Feature Guide. This is calendar year 2021. This was, it's a breakdown of the features that are available in Teams, and it's broken into 2 sections. It's broken into what has already released and then what is pending. And what I love about that is you can very quickly scan through and see what's come out, It has a link to the roadmap article about it. It has a link to the Message Center post, and a Message Center post is for the administrators where they get alerts on what's coming or what's been added to the tenant. And then it also, on the case of some of the things like approvals, it will have a link to additional information where you can go learn more. But just so when you look at this, you'll know that's the way it's broken down. And then there's a whole other section on things that have not yet landed in the tenant, have not gone live. And what you'll see is at the bottom of each of these slides, and there's, I think there's 67 slides for Q3 already. So last quarter, we had 90 something new features added to Teams. And so there is a lot, and it's a lot to keep up with. What you'll see on the dates for things that are coming for Q3 is sometimes it'll say that it's coming out in July. If it's in the pending section, it just slipped, which means that it didn't get delivered on time, which we apologize for. We tried to stick to our time estimates, but sometimes we get delays. And so you'll see with the date that it was supposed to be delivered, and then we'll keep updating it. This slide deck, and it's a PDF it's a slide deck converted into a PDF. It is refreshed about once every 10 days. And so if you go there, don't think that that's kind of the end all serve all for that quarter. Go back every once in a while and take a look, and you'll get new slides that are added as new features have been added to the roadmap. And then you'll have features that are moved into the deployed category. Thanks, Joy. Yep, that is the link. And it's this technology we use called Live Send, and it gives us the ability to share out documents with customers. So that's what that Live Send link is, to go there. When you go to the first slide, and I mentioned this earlier, but the link to the Q2 deck is in this lower left-hand corner. That's the archive. And so as we move forward, we'll archive the previous quarter's deck. So we were talking about accessibility features earlier before we started the official portion of the call. And so I went ahead and dropped this slide into the deck. And when I send it out, these will be live links that you see here. And so these are these different capabilities that are being added. And so sometimes it has a link and it gives you more information about it. Yeah, take a look at this. As I said earlier, we're not where we want to be with regard to accessibility, but there really is a tremendous amount of accessibility capabilities. And in fact, let me go real quick here, and I'm going to grab a new page that I went to. Let's see here. Give me just 1 second. This is a page on all of the accessibility features that are in Teams. And I'm going to drop this into the chat so that you can get a list of what's already there. And then this slide will give you a list of what's coming. And then we had an excellent session at our Ignite conference, which took place earlier in the year, where we went through some of the accessibility, inclusivity capabilities. And so if you go to this, then you can take a look at just a different view on this, and I'm dropping that into the chat. Oops. Go. There we go. Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks, Hannah. So in June, when we had our meeting, one of the slides that I put together, we had a lot of links that were presented during the session. And so I just took those links and put them into a slide, and I brought that slide over from the June slide deck and put it into our slide deck for today. And I'll go ahead and add these additional links that we've dropped into the chat right now. And I'll just update this to say August. So when you get the slide deck from today, you'll have the latest content on the links that are presented during the deck, just to make it easy and put everything in one place for you. So let me pause there. We've got about 10 minutes where we could talk about other things, questions that you might have, and then I want to go ahead and jump into Whiteboard. Yeah, Jose, I see you got your hand up.
Hey, Michael, how you been, man? Long time no see.
I'm doing great. I know. Good to see you.
Hey, I know this is not a technical support, but I wanted to ask, because I know there's other state agencies here, if they're having problems with Whiteboard. They enabled Whiteboard in our tenant 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We can access it through the web browser, but when we're in Teams, it does not work at all. And Microsoft, I already have a ticket open and everything. They just cannot figure out what's going on. I was wondering if other state agencies are having the same issue.
I haven't tried it in the browser, but I know at our agency, when I try and access it in the in Teams, it just gives a spinning idle animation that never goes anywhere.
Yeah, that's us. That we just wait the blue circle spinning, and that's it. But nothing else happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's happening to everyone. Okay, I'm good. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm not
yeah,
the only one suffering.
I know for sure there have been some problems as we rolled it out, and the big delay in rolling it out was we converted from the previous storage backend for Whiteboard to using OneDrive and SharePoint as the storage platform for Whiteboard, and that is actually the direction moving forward. And I think in that process of switching over and rolling it out globally to our GCC customers, there are some glitches. So thank you for both to Jose and Star for submitting tickets. That's the way that we are made aware of it, and so the way that we can fix it. I know that there were some problems that have been fixed, but it sounds like y'all are having ongoing challenges.
I haven't submitted a ticket yet, but I will.
Oh, okay.
Now that I know that. But what I was also noticing is, the documentation now that the storage for Whiteboard moved to OneDrive says to use the set SPO tenant, and the parameter is WB enabled. And the thing is that I noticed is one, in the documentation for the set SPO tenant commandlet doesn't indicate that as a parameter. And when I try that commandlet in PowerShell, it comes back and says it's not a recognized parameter.
Yeah, definitely submit a trouble ticket for that, Star. That sounds like funky behavior. That's my technical definition of what's happening. Funky behavior. Yeah. I used to be technical, but that was a long time ago.
Don't sell yourself short.
I know a few things, but I always like to learn more. Any other questions about other things? We're going to definitely dig into Whiteboard more in just a couple minutes here. But any questions about other things that are going on, we'll try to help.
Just a comment about the discussion that was going on just now. Could it be a matter of version? Because I've inquired about version related to other Microsoft products and learned that not everybody at TWC has the same version. And different versions work different ways.
That could be on the tenant. I will say on the PowerShell module, just this morning I ran an update module and still got the same error message.
And you're getting the error message in your tenant. This isn't a Teams client related error. This is a tenant related error.
The client error is that Whiteboard never launches. The tenant error is when I follow the instructions that were on Microsoft documentation to verify whether Whiteboard is enabled on my system, since they moved that out of the GUI. It says to use a PowerShell commandlet, and that commandlet is saying that the parameters are bad.
Yeah, definitely submit a support ticket for that, Star. That's not the way it's supposed to work. That's kind of a Captain Obvious statement, but but I think that there's just something going on in your tenant. Let me ask this question. Is there anybody who has started using Whiteboard and it is working? So maybe, let's start from that place.
I tested it and it
Uh-huh.
did start for me, but
Okay.
I didn't actually try it out in a meeting situation. I mean,
Okay.
I had it open in a test meeting.
Okay. Good. Thanks, Roxy. So I would be interested in, as we move forward, maybe y'all just message me and let me know, Star, once you've submitted your help desk ticket. But we're going to get a really great overview today, an actual training on how to use Whiteboard and how to use all the capabilities. So let's definitely plan on digging in and continuing to work together on making sure that we make full use of this. So without further ado, then let's jump in a little bit here. Let me move the slides over here. What Microsoft Whiteboard is, it is what we call an infinite collaboration canvas. And what that means is that you can scroll to the right, you can scroll to the left, you can scroll up, and you can add content onto this canvas. And so literally think of it like a whiteboard in a conference room, but it's a really big whiteboard. And it uses vector graphics. And so you can zoom way out and you can zoom way in and still see things very clearly. And so it's really great for thinking together, for iterating, innovating, and it uses, as I said earlier, the background of SharePoint and OneDrive for storage, and then uses Teams as a way to surface that up. Now, there is a Windows 10 version, an application that's available in the Microsoft Store, the App Store, that I'm looking over here at the video of Martin, and I'm not sure who he's talking to, but he's got a lot going on over there. I think let me see if I can, I can't turn off this video, but that's all right. So different uses for Whiteboard as we do more hybrid work, and we had that big session on hybrid work, and I know that a lot of y'all, the vast majority of you are still working from home. Some have gone into the office, some went into the office and are now back out of the office with everything going on with the new variant. But we really can use Whiteboard for both synchronous work, which is doing work at the same time, but we can also use it for asynchronous work. So we can create things and people can go to them. And so where we see a lot of use for Whiteboard, we see it for meetings, for problem solving, for doing decision making, just doodling, ideation, planning meetings. So whiteboards can be created in advance for strategic planning. You can use it for project workspaces. For SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Great for design-led thinking. And so if you have a design thinking background, then it can be really done well for that. We see it in projects. You can use it for sprint planning with agile-based projects. If you're using lean or iterative planning, then it's great because it can be used as a almost like a backlog with your different user stories. You can use it for coaching. I know that over at TDLR, they've been using a different whiteboard platform in anticipation of our whiteboard platform coming. And their chief innovation officer, I believe his name is Randy.
Randy
Yeah, thank you. Randy uses Whiteboard in a really powerful way to do these ideation sessions, and he has a lot of expertise in that. And he has a physical whiteboard in their office it's got to be 8 feet, maybe 6 feet tall, and 30 feet long. It's the biggest whiteboard I've ever seen. And so I think they built the building around his whiteboard. So using it for coaching, like Randy does, Randy Nesbitt. Just continuous improvement and iterating on processes and really looking at processes and ways to redesign. And then if you're working on products, whether that's a product meaning a program for your constituents, or actual physical products, then it can be used for that. And so just a couple of kind of visuals of Whiteboard, like using it as a project workspace rather, with the different items that need to be taken care of on these little Post-it notes that can be moved around in the project team, and maybe some, you can use a pen really effectively to create visuals on your whiteboard. Using it for strategic planning. You can type into the whiteboard, but you can also write in the whiteboard. And so it can be really nicely done to lay it out, especially if you have some kind of design skills. I don't have much of that, but some people have a great ability there. As a project workshop, so when we're doing ideation on a project and the different phases of the project as we move through and moving things by phase, so very effective use there. And so again, this could be an agile project where these is we got our backlog, the things that we're working on, things that we're going to be working on, and dates. So these are just some ideas. I wanted to show you some different visuals of ideas. Yep, Kanban board, Tanya. Thank you very much. And then this is that last one around the ideation of a product. And then just and more. It really it's kind of just limited really by our imagination and what we're able to think about and bring to bear with the whiteboard. And so we are really fortunate. I think several, not I don't think, I know that several of our agencies have taken advantage of the customer success training program, the CST program, which used to be our store employees. And we're really fortunate to have two members from the CST team. We have Ray Garcia and Greg Stevens, and Ray is going to take us through a training on whiteboard. So Aaron, nice. I don't want to brag, but I just drew a unicorn on whiteboard. Nice. So I'm looking at the chat in case y'all are wondering why I'm talking about unicorns. So let me go ahead and stop presenting, and I'm going to hand it over to Ray to lead us through whiteboard. Ray, are you there? And are you able to share your screen? All right.
Yep. Great. Thank you for that. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. What I'm going to do is go through, well, first of all, my name is Ray Garcia. I'm part of the Microsoft Store Direct Sales and Support Training team. I have Greg Stevens, who's our training manager, and then I also see a couple of our other training associates in the call here with us today too. So if you have any questions throughout the training, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll work to answer those as best as we can. And I'll work through leaving some time available. Let me turn on my cameras real quick. I'll work through leaving some time available at the end for a little quick question and answer scenario too. But I want to start from our slides and work through the actual demo. I will turn off my camera though. I'm having some connectivity issues. So in order to make the stream the fullest, I'm going to turn that off now. I just want to pop in and say hi, and we're going to get started with that. So this is our, for those of you that may have joined one of our training sessions, this is our holding slide. This is where we have some music going on typically to allow the attendees to join. We talk about recordings if available. We also talk about being able to join anonymously by logging out and logging back into the through the browser. And then we talk a little bit about accessibility, mostly focusing on captions and the subtitles. So we have the ability here to adjust the playback speed for both the live and recorded sessions. We talk about how to enable the subtitles and the settings. And then if you're actually having any current quality issues with your internet, we talk about quality and how to change that. And then here in the next slide, we show text size. You know, you can change the text color. It makes it the most beneficial viewing depending on your setting. And then we go into our agenda. You know, and it's typically a live event, so microphones are muted, cameras are off, and the only way to interact with us is through the Q&A chat. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what Microsoft Whiteboard is, how it's used, the abilities and the opportunities it has that we can build on. basically, Whiteboard, it's a way to stay connected with your colleagues from anywhere with the freeform infinite digital canvas that Michael was talking about earlier. It truly is infinite. And I've put it to the test the last few days and working to see how far I can stretch it. And it is pretty awesome. The whiteboards that you create or that you are invited to are automatically saved to the cloud. We talked a little bit about that a little while ago, and they're accessible via a board picker. So that terminology was kind of new to me, but I'll showcase that here shortly and show you exactly what that means. And they'll be available across all your devices and the web seamlessly. No matter where you started them, you can finish them in a totally different location, whether it's a different city or a different state. So we can create, share, join, export, and we can even title our boards from one easy to navigate location. And I'll just highlight all those abilities as we go through the demo here shortly. So staying organized throughout each week with the use of various design options for effective meetings. And what's great is the accessibility of Whiteboard, so we can do it independently and then pass on to the next person for their inputs. As Michael was mentioning, asynchronous and synchronous collaboration. So with that said, we're going to get into our demo. So what I want to showcase first is the different ways to access Whiteboard. You can start from any browser and you go to office.com. Let me unpin and see if that goes away. No. Okay, there it goes. So office.com, and then over here on the left navigation rail, you can see the tooltips pop up as we hover over each of the icons. Most of these are familiar, but if you haven't seen or gotten into Whiteboard yet, it's the little blue icon square there with the pencil, and it's got the title of Whiteboard. All you do is click on that, and this is our landing page or our home page. So this is going to be the screen where you have access to all the different whiteboards that either you initiated or that you were a part of from, say, a meeting or an scheduled meeting or an ad hoc meeting. They'll all be within this one view here. So for now, what I want to do is show a little bit. We have the ellipses. So those of you that have joined our trainings, you know that we have Microsoft is really big with the ellipses because there's just so many different options that there isn't much room to put them all in. So we go to the ellipses and we'll find more actions here. If you are an owner, you can delete the whiteboard. Otherwise, you'll be able to title it. So right here, it's already titled as whiteboard, but if you come over to this one to the right and I click on the ellipses, it says untitled whiteboard. I could just click on that and then backspace to give a title. We'll call it today's training session whiteboard. And now we just save. And now there's our newly titled board. And you can see all these different ones that I've messed around with throughout the last few days. But for now, we're going to move into the create new whiteboard. And it takes us into a blank canvas. And here is our palette. We have our different pens that we have with different colors. So all we really need to do, for those of you who haven't gotten into it too much yet, is click on one of your pens. You can establish the thickness of the color or of the actual stroke, and you can see that here as the number gets bigger, so does the size and the width. And you've got different colors that you can choose from here, so you got a pretty good palette to change. I'll leave this one as black for now. And then down here, if you're putting together a flow of some sort, you've got a arrow and a double arrow. So I'll highlight a regular straight line first, and all you have to do is just hold your mouse down. And I am not creative. I am not very keen or not very adept at making straight lines. So this is a freeform tool. And then I'll go over to the next color and choose maybe a smaller or medium-sized thickness of the stroke there and change colors. And then just you can see the difference of the width there, and this is the smallest one that we have here, the thinnest line. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have the excuse me, the arrows. So if you want to draw a line with an arrow, let me make that a little bit thicker. Line with an arrow, one arrow, you've got that pointing one way. And then we have the double arrow, which will put an arrow at each end of the line for us. So depending on where your graphics or your design or your contributions are going, you can include these as part of your flow if that's where we're going. We also have a highlighter, which allows you to basically like a regular highlighter. It won't cover up the previous images. So what we could do is we could type in a text box and say, today is a great day. Pop out of that, and then we come to our highlighter, and we can highlight over any text or any other items that we want. So that's great. The original content underneath does come through. And then if we need, we have our eraser, and we can just start erasing. All we have to do, unlike with Paint where you had to actually cover it, all you have to do is touch the item and it starts to delete. Now, as you can see, it will not delete a text box because that's what I created this in. So all you have to do is make sure it's highlighted. Whoops. And then when you click on it, you'll automatically get this toolbar up here where you can edit, or if you want, you can actually change the color of the text itself. And then finally, if you choose that you don't want to keep that, then all you got to do is hit the delete button and it erases the text for you. So we're not able to use the text for the pre-text boxes, but if you choose to, here goes my attempt. I don't have a pen because I'm using my external, and that should be an E, but I've got an eraser right here, and I can erase that and then come back and work at it again. So I'm working on a external monitor, so my pen is not available for this, but you can, again, we got the eraser and we can just come in and delete each individual letter and redo them if we need to. So how many of you still use little yellow Post-it notes? We've got them in Whiteboard, and you're not just yellow anymore. I know you can buy fluorescent colors as well. But we've got a whole palette here, or not a whole palette, but we do have a palette of colors to choose from that we can place. So what we could do here is type in it, and we can call this a to-do list. And, you know, the usual, what is it, pick up laundry, order pizza, you know, go grocery shopping. So now we've got our Post-it note, and we can resize through one of our handles here in the corner. And as you can see, it does still, even though the text reduces, it still does stay pretty legible. Hopefully everybody's able to see that pretty well. So you can just move it around, and then you can just start adding your notepad, your Post-it notes wherever you want, however many you want, and start organizing them by color. Maybe for some of you, your organizations use certain color patterns to determine a process or a flow or a step in a process or a flow. You can definitely start associating these different colors to those processes if you want to manually create some processes that you want to share. And moving over to the right, we have a predetermined shapes. So we can draw a square, just placing it anywhere we want, a circle, a rather well-defined circle. I'll show you my circles here shortly. And then also you can change the color of these. My palette's in the way, so I move it down here. You can change the color, and the color patterns stay pretty much the same throughout the sticky notes and the shapes themselves. And then you can put a border around it if you choose. Let's see, maybe I'll do this color, and now you can see the border a little bit better. It sticks out. So different opportunities to mix it up and create a little bit of flair for your Post-it notes. And the same thing for your shapes rather. And the same thing goes for the circles. Again, you can change the inside color and then the outer border. And then we've got some lines as well. This will help with a straight line. And you can grab one of the handles and stretch it out and then rotate it however you need to. The line here does not allow for any changes, so it would always stay the same color. And then we have the lines with the arrows on it. One arrow for one direction, and then we have our arrows on both sides of the line. Now, clicking away is important. If you're clicked on a certain item and you make some changes up here, then it'll reflect on the selected item. So I always like to click away when I'm complete. And now here is where that canvas, it kind of rolls. So even though I've got this screen pretty well filled up, I probably have some area here I could work with. But all I got to do is hold the mouse down, click and drag, and it's off the page, but it is still relevant to our design. So what I want to show real quick too in the settings, this is great. It's called Enhanced Ink Shapes Automatically. So if you don't want to use one of the predetermined shapes here, you can draw your own. And I will draw a circle, or my version of a circle. And shortly it will pop into a perfectly rounded and shaped circle. And same thing with a square. As I draw a square, or what seems to be a square, it will pop in to a perfectly shaped square. And the same thing with a triangle. All right, so very uneven, but okay, so that, let me undo. The great thing here is we have the undo. Let's see if I didn't close it is what I believe. Yep, there we go. So I didn't close it. So now we've got a shape there for a triangle. Or again, we have these predetermined shapes already created for us. So part of the asynchronous usage and collaboration of Whiteboard is, let's say I'm done. This is my task for today, and I need to pass it along to one of my teammates. All you can do is click on this little share button up here, and then make sure the share link is enabled. Right now it's off, now it's enabled. So you click on the copy link, and all it does really is just copy that link into your clipboard, and then allows you to come into Outlook. Now I want to say this is my alter ego, Grady Archie, that I'm working with right now in our demo. This is what we use for all of our CSTs. So no information that you might be, or that you see on the screen has any type of PII. So there's no personally identifiable information here, and it's all in a fictitious environment. So here's my email, and if I want to compose a new message, I'm just going to send it to myself, so I can open it up and show you what the end result looks like. We'll show test whiteboard, and then we'll come in here and do a Control-V to paste, and that's a long link. But I assure you, as soon as we get it over to our sender or our recipient, they'll be able to click on it and see what we see. So I'm going to go ahead and click send down here. And there it is. It just came in. So I'm going to click on this. So right there, it's a link that's active. So your recipient, all they have to do is click on that link, and then we'll say view on the web. And as it processes it, there's exactly what I left, the way I left it. So everything is exactly the same way I left it, as I just took a snapshot of what I composed and sent it over to your recipient. But the great thing is your recipient can now start, let's say follow up. Your recipient can now start adding to this. So maybe it's their turn to start contributing to the plan, or whatever the ultimate design goal is, and they can start populating to check on contracts or something like that, right? So they can start doing their things, and maybe they don't like the square, so all they have to do is delete. Maybe they want to start moving things around as part of their task, and then from there, when they're done, all they got to do is share and copy link and send on to the next person. Now that's probably one of the older ways that we would have done work. Typically if we're in an office, or when we were in an office, we would all be able to have our own marker, and we would just go up in the meeting and start working on the whiteboard and contributing our stuff in real time, correct? So this is the more phased approach to it, and maybe you have like a week's time frame or a month's time frame that you just want to start trying to generate some ideas. This would be great to use, but in the real world, I think we all know that things are more of an on-demand type of setting. So that's where we're going to get into Teams and how to use Whiteboard within Teams. So what we'll do is come to one of our calendars. Or actually, let's start with chat. So within chat, let's say I want to talk to Alex. I had a conversation that I started with Alex earlier this morning, and we want to do some back and forth. I don't see Whiteboard available here anywhere, so no worries. All we do is come to our plus sign to add a tab, and then we get a list of whatever applications are available to you within your organization based on your subscription. Typically, Whiteboard should probably be available to all of us. So we'll click on Whiteboard, and it will give us a prompting for some titles. Let's call it softball. I was hoping there would be a softball season. I don't know. Hopefully that's still in play for the fall. So we'll talk. Alex and I want to discuss some softball signups. So I'll title that a softball, and we can post it into a chat, letting the individuals know that this has been added. So we'll click on save here. And as it does its thing, there's that gigantic blue circle that spins. We now have our whiteboard, and it is titled softball registration. And then go back to this. You can see right here, it said, the chats that you start as a originator are on the right, and then the other ones are on the left from the other person you're talking to. So we can tell this is my most recent chat, and it states here it's added a new tab at the top of this chat and provided a link. But all we got to do is click up here. There's one more. There's no more room for that, so I'll just click on softball registration, and now Alex and I can start collaborating on the next steps to ensure we have everything we need. So we can start typing in some text, list of things to secure in order to have a successful fall season. And we can, from there, we can start putting in our freeform text if we want to start writing things down. Again, this is infinite. So we can start jotting down our personal ideas with our pen if we're on our laptops or our Surface Books, or we can just type in use a text box, and we can start coming up with some sticky notes to start addressing all the different things that we need in order to have a successful softball season. So that's one way to get involved. And then if we need to add others, then we can just start adding people through our regular chat, and come over here and just start adding our members, and then everybody can have access to the softball registration whiteboard and start contributing as we go through. Fall's considered typically September, October, November-ish, so we've got some time. So it'll be a slow work in progress building up to that fall time period. Then the other thing, which is more gets a little bit more in depth, which has some defined phases, would be how to use Whiteboard for a meeting. So come to our calendar, and I actually have a meeting set for tomorrow. Alan DeYoung, one of my coworkers, set up a just for the demo meeting that happens every Friday. So what I can do is click on the meeting and then chat with participants. And it takes me to the just for demo chat. And there is a whiteboard provided already for us. So all I have to do is click on that. And this could be our brainstorming, you know, if meeting times and meeting space is a commodity as of late. So we want to make sure that the time we spend together in our meeting is spent wisely. So we don't want to have get into a meeting and then spend half of it trying to decide what the meeting needs to be about. So we want to be able to highlight let me do a sticker. We need to be able to identify what our meeting is going to be before we even get started. So we can create an agenda and have, you know, introductions. We can talk about last quarter numbers. We can talk about next quarter numbers. And then we can, maybe this is, let's say it's a once a month meeting, and then we're going to put like maybe birthdays and, you know, our work anniversary, and if I can spell anniversary right, anniversaries, to highlight those that have been, you know, having celebrating a birthday in the month, or those that are celebrating a milestone for being at work, a 1 year, a 3 year, 5 year, whatever the case may be. And we can have that as available for us. So when we get into the meeting, which I'll show here in a little while, this will already be prepared for us, and it'll be available as the meeting gets started. So right now we're just in the chat prior to the actual meeting. I still haven't joined yet, so here shortly I will. And then let's see. So part of the agenda probably should have been creating a flow chart. So we're going to do this. I'll create a couple of symbols for us and try to size them accordingly. Get a decision box in there. And then a final result, just to have some closures. We have our start of our flow, and then we have our close of our flow. Now, we haven't decided if it's a one-way flow or a bidirectional flow based on, you know, everybody's input. So we'll just leave the symbols there. But now it's time. So Friday comes along, and we want to exit out of here and go back to the calendar. So today's passed. We're going up. It's already tomorrow morning. We're going to come in, and I'm going to join the meeting. I'm going to turn off my mic so we don't get that reverberation and feedback. So I click on join now. And as we get others waiting to join, I will open the share tray. Come over here to the right, click on Microsoft Whiteboard, and it'll load it up. And it should, I hope this is a demo, it should have everything I just created. There it is. So now we can get into our meeting, everybody's joined, and we don't have to spend time trying to determine what our agenda is going to be. You know, I'm sure everybody's meetings are pretty well formed and organized, but just in case there's a last minute meeting that pops up, you can create a pseudo agenda and have it ready for you. So now once we're in the meeting, we can start going over. We did our introductions. We talked about last quarter's numbers. We've talked about next quarter's, and we've already congratulated everybody for birthdays and work anniversaries. Now, we need to talk about the flow of our chart, our flow chart here. So we want to do, I'll just use these pre-formed lines for us. Well, we've decided based on conversation that it is just going to be a one-way flow, and our flow will run from left to right. So all we have to do is input our lines, and we can adjust the sizes and make it a little bit more presentable. I'm sorry about the disarray and disorganization, but there our meetings concluded. And then let's say we've one of the last things before we adjourn the meeting would be, okay, everybody, let's keep in mind what we've talked about, and if you have any more to contribute, or if you know of any revisions or edits that need to be made after we've been dismissed today, don't forget you can go back to your chat and make adjustments there as well. So I'm going to get out of our meeting. Let's see where to go. There it is. So I am going to hang up from our meeting. And actually, before I do that, let's see if I can do this. So let's do a strike through. So we did introductions. We talked about last quarter numbers. We've talked about next quarter numbers, and we've addressed all that. So I just want to make sure that these changes do stay with us. So now I'm going to hang up and leave the meeting. Now, just for the day demo, we had our recording. I didn't turn that on, so we'll come back up to the whiteboard, and let's see if the last little changes that I made stuck and are available. There we go. So now it's, I don't know, say a week. Well, we have a weekly meeting, so let's say it's Wednesday or Thursday of the next week, and now I can come in here and say, you know what, I don't like the way this is. I want to change these around, or whatever the case may be. We have all the information that has been captured from our pre-meeting into our meeting, and now coming into our post-meeting. And then we just move on from there. And this is one way to ensure that the collaboration doesn't start and stop just with the meeting. So I know some of you, if not all of you, always have those thoughts about, I should have said this, or maybe this would have been better to bring up, or, always have those what if and afterthoughts of after meetings close down. Well, now we have the ability to go back, and it's not just with Whiteboard, it's with the meeting notes if any are taken, and it's also with the chat as well. So we have all these great tools available to us within Teams to continue those thoughts and build upon the foundation blocks that we laid out before we started our meeting. So real quick, I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions from anybody that I can help try to answer.
Yeah, Ray, awesome job. I think we had some really awesome points in the chat. I know Star had one really early on that was a good thing for us too. I don't know if everyone knows this, but if you hold shift while you're drawing a line on the whiteboard, it will actually be a perfectly straight line. So thanks, Star. That's a good one.
I did not know that. Oh, yes. And I am holding down shift, and I can actually move it in any direction from the point of origin. So thank you, Star. Yes.
I know Aaron at HHSC asked around some of the alignment features that are currently in PowerPoint are not in Whiteboard yet, but that's a really good insight. I'll certainly pass that along. I know, like when you're moving something around on PowerPoint, you'll see kind of the dotted lines for where things are lined up. Not to poke too much fun, Ray, but your arrows and your flow chart aren't necessarily lined up as good as they can be. So
exactly.
That's a good point, Aaron.
Yes, and to that point, Aaron, if I have time, which I think we will, I want to showcase just a little bit of a tease of the actual desktop app, which will take care of that for you. The answers are in there. So when you do get the desktop app, which I believe was in the fall, hopefully, that feature will be included in that. So no promises on timelines, but just want to give you all a little bit of a preview of what is out there to come.
And then
anything else, Greg?
Yeah, one of the only last points I threw in the chat there, and I know you kind of demoed this as well with your meeting, just kind of highlighting the really cool thing about Whiteboard in a Teams meeting is, it was available to you before you even started the meeting. you jumped into the meeting, you were able to work on it, and you'll be able to co-author with others that are on the call. And then even after you hang up, the meeting has ended and you're still in here working on that. So just because your whiteboard is used in a meeting doesn't mean you have to use it during the meeting. You're able to start ahead or go back to if you want.
Absolutely. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and touch a little bit on the desktop app and show some of the cool features that will help with a lot of my problems that I have here in creating this type of design. I am not artistic at all, nor steady hand. So I'm going to start whiteboard just off the start menu. And as we can see, it's a little bit different orientation of how it was with, all right, let's make sure I've got object snapping. We can ink to table, ink to shape, and then we'll show active pens. Yeah, and that's fine. I don't want to, you know what, I'm just going to create a new one. So this is the desktop app, so you can see a lot more features, a bigger menu down here. One of the newer introductions that I saw is a ruler. So we have the ability to hold down the ruler, and you can then get your pen and, oops, get your pen and, come on. Let's see. Well, it's not, it was inking before, and now it's just moving my active pen. Let me try this route. I'll get my ruler back up and I'll get my pen. There we go. So now I've got a pen and I've got the ruler, which allows me to make the straight lines, and we can use your scroll bar while your mouse is on the ruler and you can change the orientation. Also, if you've noticed in the background, as you scroll, the font or the image becomes larger, or you can make it smaller to see a wider view. So we got that, so that's great. We have the, again, going to try and type my name, not very well, but we have this lasso that we can use to pick apart text and do some different things with it. I'm not sure what I would use or what anybody would use that for, but it's an option there that seems pretty cool. You can start rearranging your written text that you have. The other things that I wanted to talk real quick is show the background. So we can change the colors of the background if you're looking for a different background other than white. And then we can also change the grids. So this would have been tremendous back in school when you needed to do graphs or those functions and equations that needed to be graphed. And there's some graph paper right there for you. All the different backgrounds that are available to you as well. And lastly, before I pass it on to Greg, I want to show, let's see, where did they go? So we had some templates. Now it is gone. So from here, we can post to Teams, we can send it in an email, or we can just export it into Excel, depending on what the option, what the need is or what the active reasoning is for when we're using Whiteboard. Then we have our accessibility checker that's built in that prompts us to make sure all of our our shapes and notepads are labeled and identified. So let's see. Let me change that. Maybe it's here. Insert. Here it is. Here's our templates. So we have a brainstorming template. We'll have a Kanban template. Different, effective meetings. There's a SWOT that Michael mentioned earlier. Some project planning templates. All these different templates that you can use to start and kick off whatever collaboration session you're looking to use it for. Then we can also insert some images, either from our local device, which is the library, or from our Bing. I think I used HoloLens earlier. that comes up with all these different Bing search images for HoloLens, and all you got to do is click on the plus sign, and then you can add the Bing object that you selected into your whiteboard. You can insert a camera, so if you take pictures, you can post them in there. And if you want also, you can do a PDF. If you want to include a PDF into the whiteboard session or any Word document or PowerPoint, we have that there. Now, what I do, see if I show, you can add a note. So here's our to-do list. So some of the same similar functions, you can add those. We can also insert actual lists that are already pre-formatted. If you don't want to do a manual one, you want an automatic one, we can come up here and call it our to-do list. So different way, you can see, you know, pick up dinner, and we can like it. And this is usually going to be for others that are collaborating after you type it, you know, and then you can also change this from a bulleted to an actual task that you can show as complete. So a lot of cool features in the desktop app, hopefully be coming soon, and get you a little bit more excited and enthusiastic, energized to include Whiteboard not only in your meetings but for your, day-to-day, even down to just your plain old doodling to help regather, reclaim your thoughts and wind down from a busy day. But that is what I have for you all today. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present this to you. And what I'm going to do now is hand it over to Greg and Michael to close us out.
Yeah, I can hop on really quickly. I know Michael has some stuff to share, so I'll go quick. I want to show my favorite feature because you got me excited about Whiteboard now. So I want to close this out with one last thing. You got me excited. This is something that's only in the desktop version. So keep in mind, this is something that'll be coming a little bit later down the line, probably looking hopefully fall time. But one of the things that Ray showed was the ability to add images. And of course, with hybrid work being top of mind right now, and we've got that as a big priority, some of you might be working in the office, some of you might be working from home, and many of you, I'm assuming, probably have whiteboards, physical whiteboards in your offices. And a really cool feature, which is my favorite feature of all of Whiteboard, is the ability to add pictures of an actual whiteboard. So this is a picture of a physical whiteboard that I've just added into my virtual whiteboard. And in the desktop application, there's actually a really cool tool called Ink Grab. And what that's going to do, it's going to transform this picture that we've got of a whiteboard into a now virtual whiteboard. And so this is completely separated now. I can use lasso tools, I can use inking tools, and I can now separate what's on this picture. It's completely separate. So if I want to erase part of it and keep part of it there and, edit some of the text, I can absolutely do that. So this is my favorite feature of Whiteboard. I just had to throw that in there. Something that's coming, a little tease. It's a really cool feature. But yeah, before we hand it off to Michael, I just wanted to say thank you for letting us speak on here today. I know we work with many of your teams already. If we don't work with you, I'll throw my email address in the chat. If you want to get some training, if this Whiteboard training was awesome and you want to have our team show it out to your greater agency, we're happy to do that. Everything that we do for our trainings is included in your licensing, and so we're happy to get you set up. It's quick, it's easy, we host all the calls, and so would absolutely love to get some training out for your agencies. So with that, we'll hand it over to Michael. Thanks, Michael, for letting us come on today.
That was awesome, Ray. Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah, y'all are just an amazing team, and that was a really good training. I learned things, and I've been using the whiteboard for a while, so that was awesome. Thank you. I'm going to actually share one of the whiteboards that I created for our hybrid work meeting, just as an example of one of the things you can do with whiteboard. And so what I did, these were all documents. And so this is also, like what Greg was showing, this is the Whiteboard desktop app. And so when you click the plus sign here, you can bring in PowerPoint documents, Word documents, PDFs. And so when you bring them in, you can pick which of the pages you want to post. And so it does a great job of enabling or allowing you to put certain pages in, and then you can just, as I talked earlier about the vector graphics, you can see that even though you zoom way out or zoom way in, the quality of the image stays really good. So this is not text; it is an image at this point, but you can zoom all the way in. So like the little URLs don't work anymore because it's no longer the actual PDF. This is just another thing that you can do when you're trying to organize your thoughts or organize content. And let me see here. There was some of these templates. So like a Kanban board. I know that someone had mentioned a Kanban board, and so here's an example of a Kanban board: backlog in progress completed. So lots that you can do. So now let me go back to our slides, and I want to show you a video of what's coming in Whiteboard. So what I mentioned earlier is that we completely re-platformed the back end of Whiteboard because previously the back end, when it wasn't SharePoint and OneDrive, we didn't have the ability to do things like apply retention policies. I think Jose asked earlier, can you apply retention policies? Currently, you cannot. However, that is coming very soon because those are capabilities in SharePoint and in OneDrive. And so you will be able to do that. And there are a whole lot of features that are going to be coming in this fall, some of which are more administrative type features like retention policies. But then a lot of them are just adding new things like the ability to use templates, the ability for GCC customers to be able to use the desktop client. So a lot of things that are currently in the desktop client, you will get in your different versions. And the other thing that we're working on is that we're actually going to have, the plan is to have every client have equivalent features. And so that will be the mobile client, the web client, and then the client for the desktop app, and then the version inside of Teams. So all of it will use the same code base, and all of it will be feature parity across them. One of the kind of cool things, and this has only happened once that I recall in 2 years at Microsoft, GCC is actually ahead of our commercial customers because the commercial tenants right now don't store Whiteboard in SharePoint and OneDrive. So we're actually ahead. And so we're going to be getting some features, right, Greg? We're going to be getting some features that will be coming to us first in GCC. So whoop, that, again, like I said, we don't get that often enough. So let me go now back to our presentation. And I want to show a little video about Whiteboard futures. And this is, let's see, Zoom. Hey, Billy Stevenson. Billy's in the house, guys.
Senor,
oh, that's great.
Such a great, it's like being home, truly.
Oh, man, we miss you, Billy.
Not more than I miss you. Not more than I miss you.
Oh man. Well, let me show this video, and then we can all just chat for a bit. Okay, so let's see, Star. Does that mean there will also be audit e-discovery aspects? Yes, it does, Star. That's a great question, and yes, it does. So here is the Whiteboard Futures video. Let me make sure. Y'all let me know if you're able to hear this.
Sound is working. Yes.
I love our marketing teams. They always find fun music. So those are some of the things that I had mentioned that we're going to see coming in Whiteboard. So we saw the use of the templates. We saw the little the stickers. We saw the Kanban template they brought in. You saw the full capabilities that we were showing. Yes, no, it is not wrong, Thomas Spencer, to be excited about Whiteboard. We saw
Michael,
yeah.
you know what I feel like?
What's
I feel
that?
like my kids when I show them the PS5 box, but I took the power cord away.
Oh man, I know. You know, we talked about like how much of this stuff do we want to show them, but it's coming. And the cool thing is, so I let's see, on Tuesday of this week, got to see the Whiteboard futures. And I'm not able to share it on this because we record this and then we put it on a YouTube channel. But what I can do is I can stop the video, and I'll do that in just a minute, and then I will actually show y'all the Whiteboard slide. And so, yeah, exactly, Tanya. September is not that far away. So let me. Is there anything else we want to talk about, or anything else that we want to cover while we have the video running? Anything else from anybody? All right. Well, then what I'm going to do.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
realize I was muted. So Tanya says September isn't that far away, but these features are they're not even available in the commercial yet, right? Or are we talking about these features coming available on GCC?
I will show you all of that in the roadmap slide.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let me see if I have. Yep. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording. So thanks to everybody who was here for the full meeting. If you are interested in having an overview of the NDA capabilities that are coming, NDA meaning non-disclosure agreement capabilities that are coming, then I could be happy to have a one-on-one meeting with your agency to go over that. So if you're watching this video and you realize you're not getting to see it, then just reach out to me and let me know, and I'd be happy to cover that for you. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.